We have another speaker. She's from the AARP, and we're not the only ones in this pension fight. And to me, the best, among the best analyses of what's going on, of the bills and the testimony, what little testimony there's been at the Congress, has come from AARP. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Erin Parrish from the Minnesota AARP. She's going to talk about come on up, Erin. AARP's take on all this. Erin Parrish, everybody, big hand.
All right, thank you, everyone. I was excited to hear Bob ask about Social Security and Medicare because that gets to kind of some of what I wanted to talk about in the context of why you're all here today. My name's Erin Parrish. I'm the Associate State Director for Advocacy and Outreach for AARP here in Minnesota. I work directly with our members and our volunteers in Minnesota to support them in their advocacy efforts at the Capitol, as well as the congressional work that we do here in the state. In Minnesota, we have about 650,000 AARP members, and they are fighting for retirement security. Because when we think about the metaphor of the three-legged stool of retirement savings, you have private savings, Social Security, pensions, and 401k or workplace savings options. That stool is getting closer and closer to the ground every day. And we need to stop that from happening. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we work toward ensuring that everyone in this country, everyone in Minnesota can retire with dignity and security. Roughly 8,000 baby boomers turn 65 every day. That is going to continue to increase over the next few years. The image that we've been sold of a relaxing, fulfilling, and secure retirement isn't a reality for most people anymore. Currently, 1 in 7 Minnesotans age 65 or older is living in poverty. Now, over half of them are older women. There's estimates that show that 53% of households are at risk of having an insecure retirement, meaning that they're retiring below their standard of living. Another 40% run the risk of being able to afford basic necessities. This doesn't mean that they're not able to take a vacation or that they maybe can't take, grandkids to the museum on the weekend. This means they cannot afford food, they can't afford medication, and they can't afford utilities. These are people who worked hard their entire lives, people who had pensions, people who paid into Social Security, and people who tried their hardest to save for their future. Unfortunately, they're retiring poor. It's likely not a surprise to anyone in the room that our country is facing a vast retirement savings crisis. It's now estimated to be as much as $6.6 trillion. Minnesotans without access to pensions and 401ks struggle to save for retirement every day, and those who do have pensions and 401ks, the income doesn't always keep up with the rising cost of healthcare and basic necessities. Too many people are choosing not to retire, some by choice, but others because they simply can't afford to retire. So for the 3 out of 5 families headed by a person 65 or older who have no retirement savings, Social Security is going to be their sole source of income. It was never intended to be the sole source of income for retirees. Social Security is supposed to be an essential baseline of income for retirees, and it's not enough to pay the bills during retirement. The average benefit in Minnesota, the average monthly benefit is about $1,200. That's average. There are too many people getting much less than that. I mentioned that analogy of the three-legged stool is getting closer and closer to the ground. Past generations may have been able to rely on Social Security, pensions, and other personal savings, but the decline in pensions, the threats to pensions, the decline in private savings, it's too difficult for people to save. So with the retirement crisis looming, now's not the time to cut back our pension benefits and our retirement benefits. AARP supports adequate funding for the multi-employer pension plans. We've lobbied hard in opposition to the Klein composite proposal. We lobbied hard in opposition to the Klein-Miller amendment. The composite plan, you've all heard a great summary from Ann about what that's going to do, so I'm not gonna cover that, but I wanted to let all of you know what AARP has been doing on this issue. We've been lobbying very hard on the Hill. We're working to mobilize our AARP members through a number of grassroots tactics. We have contacted 1.5 million activists via email, and we have drove roughly 6,000 phone calls into Congressman Klein's office. And we will continue to do so through the lame duck session, and then depending on what happens at the end of the year, we'll start moving forward with a different strategy in 2017 because there's too much uncertainty about what 2017 is gonna bring in Congress. I wanna encourage all of you that if you haven't already made a phone call, please make a phone call. Letters at this point, they have to go through too many security loopholes. It can take weeks for a member of Congress to receive a hard copy letter through direct mail. If you send a letter, send it to the district office. It doesn't have to go through security like it does in DC. Emails are great, but phone calls are much, much more effective. I'd say they're 95% more effective than an email. So please pick up the phone and call. It will take 2 minutes. And for those of you who have already called, get 5 friends to make a phone call. The more that we can drive those calls into members of Congress, the better that they're going to hear. The other thing I would say is something that we saw Senator Klobuchar do when she spoke. Get your story together. Talking points are great, facts are great. They need to hear your story about how this is gonna impact you, how it's gonna impact your community, and how it's going to impact the geographic area that they represent. Because as someone had pointed out earlier, retirees generate our economy. They're out, they're buying groceries, they're spending money in their community. They contribute so much to this economy. And that is important for Congress people to hear, that with pension cuts, no cost of living adjustments or 0.3% cost of living adjustments to Social Security, that's not generating economy. That's not supporting retirees, and that's not going to be beneficial. So I'm just gonna really encourage you to make that call. Pensions are an important part of our nation's retirement framework. People worked all of their lives to earn pension. It's a promise. They need to be able to count on them when they retire. However, we can't ignore the other pieces of the framework as well. Social Security, Medicare, personal savings, 401k savings plans. Over the last few weeks, I have heard from countless members here in the state who are very concerned about Social Security and Medicare. AARP is too. These are members with pensions, members who had savings plans, members who didn't have enough Social Security, members like my mom and my dad who were dairy farmers and put food on the country's table, who don't have enough to retire. My mom will not receive Social Security because she didn't pay in. She is reliant on my dad's Social Security. They're going to work for a long time. Fortunately, they were able to support me in ways to where I'm able to help them in retirement. But you know what? We need to do better than that. We can't count on the next generation to be able to take care of us. We need to ensure that everyone retires with dignity and financial security in the way that they want. And we're gonna continue to do that. For nearly 60 years, AARP has fought to ensure hardworking Americans get the benefits they've earned. In 2005, we fought back Social Security privatization. We're gonna continue to do that. In 2002 and 2012 and 2013, we mobilized our members to fight against budget deals that would have cut Medicare and Social Security benefits, we're going to continue to do that. There's a lot of uncertainty, as I said. We're concerned about retirement security, we're also concerned about healthcare, and we're concerned about consumer protections. And all of these things impact people who were relying on pension benefits and Social Security. I just want to add really quickly, we're also doing some work on a state level to find more ways to put money in the pockets of retirees. The first is a state-managed retirement savings plan for people who don't have access in the workplace. We know that less and less employers are offering pensions. What a lot of people don't know is that growth in employer 401k offerings has not grown since the 1990s. So people aren't dropping their pension plans in favor of a 401k plan. They're just dropping retirement savings plans in general. And we need to find a way to ensure that people who are able to and want to save for their future can. So we're going to be working, we have for the last 2 years, we'll continue to move forward to pass the Minnesota Secure Choice Plan, that people who don't have a plan in the workplace are able to save. We're also going to work to find ways to reduce the Social Security tax in Minnesota. Most states exclude Social Security benefits from taxes. Minnesota's, I think, now 1 in 3. However, completely doing away with that tax is incredibly costly to the state. It's upwards of $1 billion. What we would like to see is some adjustments to the income thresholds that exempt beneficiaries from that tax. Too many low income and middle income retirees are paying taxes on their Social Security benefits, and they shouldn't be, because those income thresholds haven't been adjusted for inflation since the 1980s. And we'd like to see that change, because we all know what $5 got us in the 1980s and what it gets us now. So we need to see some adjustment in there, and we'll continue to work on that sort of nuanced around Social Security taxes in 2017 here in the state. I'm just going to wrap up by saying, again, we need to strengthen our current retirement programs, not cut them. And we're going to be keeping a watchful eye in DC and here in the state to ensure that we're not cutting the important benefits that were promised and guaranteed to our retirees. We're going to keep fighting with the full power of our nearly 38 million members in the country. I said we had about 650,000 here in Minnesota to protect hard-earned Medicare and Social Security benefits. I'd like to, we're very excited to be able to partner with Jeff here in doing that work, and I'd like to invite all of you when we go to the Capitol here in the state, or when we're contacting members of Congress here, to join with us. We're hosting a training and a lobby day on March 7th and 8th, and I will get the information. We'd love to invite all of you to come and join us in that effort, because we're in this fight together. This impacts everyone, and we need each other now more than ever as we move forward to this, because I've said it and I'll say it again, everyone deserves to retire with dignity and security, and we need to fight to protect the promises that we were given.
Thank you, Erin, for your inspiring words. Thank you. Erin Parrish, everybody. Erin Parrish. Gives you some idea of who we are privileged to work with.
So I would recommend starting with your congressman, and then I would recommend Congressman Klein. You can certainly call every member of Congress, that doesn't hurt, but if you're short of time, I would prioritize your personal congressperson and Congressman Klein.
I'm lucky I live in Congressman Rick Dole's district.
There you go.
I saw an almanac last night, and he talked about our entitlements.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you, Erin, for your inspiring talk. And we are indeed lucky to have you with us in this fight, and we're proud to be with you.